Tabletop gaming is a hard hobby to get into. There's a lot of information that you need to learn incredibly quickly, and it can be daunting sometimes. But it doesn't have to be that way. It can be something that you know like the back of your hand rather quickly if you take the time to study. Almost like a class. So, that's what I'm here for. Welcome to Tabletop 100, an introductory course to the world of tabletop role-playing games. I'm Jason, your guide to this world, and today we're going to be talking about the basics, the dice. Dice are a common thing. Most board games use a six-sided dice when you play them, but that's not the only type of die there is, and most games, the six-sided die is not your normal die. You're going to be rolling something else for most of the game. A set of dice is made up of, on average, 7 different die, each one described by the highest number. So a d6, six-sided die. Fairly simple. But today, let's go for a quick overview of what each die is and what it kind of does for each thing. Firstly, you have the d20. The main die you'll be rolling in any game based on the d20 system. It is what is your decision maker. It is your best friend. It is where the term natural 20 and natural 1 come from. It is the dice by which, from today's standards, most role-playing games have their foundation. Next is the d12. It's a much more uncommon die. Most things that run on a system similar to Dungeons & Dragons might use it as either a health die for a certain tank eater class, or a damage die for larger weapons. As far as I'm aware, I do not know of a system that runs on the d12. So, it's probably the least used die out of all of these. A d10 is one of the more common dies. A few systems actually run on it, most notably the Storyteller system for World of Darkness, and the Interlock system, most famously used by the Cyberpunk RPGs, like Cyberpunk 2020 and Cyberpunk Red. One of the weird things about it is that there is a 0 on this die, which most dies actually don't have. Most dies, the lowest number is a 1. On a d10, the 0 actually counts as your 10 marker. In a lot of cases, if there is a system where it counts as the 0, I do not know of one off the top of my head. So rather than saying 10, it just says 0, and most people know to count that as 10. But the d10 has a special counterpart in the percentile die. It is a die that rather than counting 0 through 9, it has double 0 through 90, representing the tens place when rolling on a random table for a d100 roll. Also, interchangeably, you can use 2d10 with a D or a d100 when rolling on that table. You'll get the same results, it's just a matter of how you read. Very few systems use both at the same time. The only one in my knowledge is the most recent edition of Call of Cthulhu, using a d100 system for determining rolls and such. The humble d6 is a die that everybody knows. If a game uses it, expect to be rolling at least 5 of them at a time at all times. Most games that use them as the I get a lot of these at once die. So having just one is never enough in this case. There's not much to go over with a d6. It's such a common die that I think everyone knows what it is and what it looks like. So, let's move on to the next one. The last die to talk about is the d4. It's a fairly uncommon die. You'll see it a lot in early games, but you're not going to see it as you get higher and later into your different games. And I only know of one system that actually uses the d4 as its main die, and that's Crash Pandas, which is a one-page RPG. Super fun, but it's a very simple game. What they are, how they're used, and some of the games they're going to be used for, and some of the games we're actually going to be talking about later. It's your first step towards getting into RPGs. Congratulations, and good luck. If you want to continue this course, join me next week where we'll be talking about ability scores and statistics, and what that means, things like that. I'll see you next time.